Okay, Dharma, once again we have wellness checks going on in just a couple of minutes, so I don't have a whole lot of time. I just wanted to get one quick thing out. Uh, we need to talk. We need to talk about the future of the Dharma Boots because uh, I don't know who has seen my post on my personal page, but yeah, I was twice non-selected, which we've known since the day that I came on active duty was going to happen. I was told that by senior Army chaplains uh, that was the case. So we've known this was going to happen for some time. But what I want to go into is the why, what we can do, and what we're going to do, and whether or not the Dharma Boots is even going to continue, which, to my mind, I think it should, right? Yes, as a twice non-selected officer, I will be going home. I will be going home. That's reality. And this whole thing, I want us to look at it from the standpoint of compassion, loving kindness, tathata, suchness, right? Seeing reality just as it is, not as we wish it was. And dispraising that which deserves dispraise, which we'll get into in a bit. Right? So I think services will continue, even if I change status from wearing a green suit to being a veteran. I think the services should continue, and I think that I will do my best to make that happen. In fact, probably as a veteran, I'm going to have better services and more services because ultimately, whatever that ends up looking like, whether I take Celcon, whether I head over to the reserves, whether I just straight up say this ain't worth it, I'm done. Uh, I should have more time available as soon as we get to that point, right? Which currently my mandatory removal date is 1 February 2025. So between now and then, I'm going to be very busy. I'm going to be very busy getting all the things together that have to happen for whether that's all the things that have to happen for PCS, whether that's all the things that have to happen for uh, heading to the reserves, whether that's all the things that have to happen for just heading home. There's a lot of things that have to get done. And so as soon as those are done, I should have a whole lot more time. And I'm going to be blunt and honest about it. I'm going to put in less effort at the unit. So you should be seeing more of me here, right? You should be seeing more of me doing my actual job of ministry. Um, I hope. Maybe not, but that's what I'm planning anyway. So, how did it come to this? The long and short of it is, like I said right at the beginning, uh, I was told from like the very first few moments, the very, very early days of me being on active duty, that there was absolutely no chance whatsoever that I was getting promoted. Why? Because we were under a new endorser. The Buddhist Churches of America didn't have anybody who, I was the second on active duty. Technically the third, but Tom Dyer saw the writing on the wall and swapped over to Unitarians. And I think probably that had something to do with the fact that they told him the same thing. I can't verify that because he hasn't said so, but I think there may be some elements of that. So, knowing that was going to happen, it didn't really bother me when my command came out and said, okay, well, we are only going to give most qualified ratings to officers in our branch. The branch being like infantry, armor, military intel, logistics, whatever, right? And I'm not going to give away the branch because it's immaterial at this point. A lot of different commands do this, and a lot of different leaders do this because they have to compete. And that is one of the greatest corrupting influences that we have in the promotion system. Again, I'm going to get back to that a little bit later. But yeah, so I was, I was number 2 in the chute. I was the second one who became eligible for promotion, and as such, there was no chance that I was ever getting promoted. Right? I could probably also offer that, hey, as a white Buddhist, yeah, there is some of that element here. As a white Buddhist, I've had to sit there my entire career and say, okay, well, I'm going to give these guys the benefit of the doubt. It's not like they're actively trying to sabotage my career. It's not like they're actively trying to hurt the Buddhist community, and specifically me, because as a white Buddhist, there's actually, unfortunately, a lot of chaplains out there who view me as both a race traitor, right? Because Asians are supposed to be Buddhist, right? And a religion traitor because Asians are supposed to be Buddhist, not this white guy here, right? So I have dealt with that for much of my career, and this again is where we get into dispraise where it's due. All right. Out of compassion, I look at that and usually I say, okay, well, maybe they're just wording it badly, and it's not really all. Maybe it's not really anything to do with that. Maybe they just don't know. Maybe they're just ignorant. Maybe they're just they're trying. They have good hearts. Well, yeah, that's true, probably, but also there is an element there of exactly what I just talked about. So I have had to deal with that my entire career, and that's a thing that weighs on me. So back to that second piece, right? So second in line for for being eligible for promotion, did not get it. Even at NTC, at the National Training Center, when we went to our rotations there, I was told this same thing. So it's kind of hard to fight for something that you have no hope that it will ever happen, right? You look at it and you say, okay, well, why should I bother? It's pointless, right? So it didn't matter to me that my command was not going to give any of the staff primaries a top block, which that actually happened, right? There was only one of the staff primaries who got a top block, and that was because they were branch detailed from that senior rater's branch. Who knew, right? Yay. He's also the only one who is still in the Army. Also, who knew, right? Good times. So that was my first unit. After that, I went over to my second unit, and that was about the same time, give or take, where we started to see Somya's case, right? And what happened with Somya was very simple. He went into his primary zone board with 7 MQs. 7 most qualified ratings out of 10. Other chaplains at his primary zone board, 5, 3. One even got promoted with 2 MQs. No, actually, there's probably more than that, but that was the one that we know about. So this guy who has 7 most qualified ratings, this rock star of a chaplain who's an awesome dude, he's not promotable, but this guy with 2 MQs is? Well, what's the difference there? Well, Somya's Buddhist, and this other guy was Christian. Literally the only real difference. Demographically, they were pretty much the same. Right? There was nothing that should have prevented Somya from getting promoted, but he did. Right? And then he got non-selected. He got twice non-selected the next year because even with 7 MQs, where all of his peers are getting promoted with maybe 5, maybe 4, maybe 3. No, 7 wasn't enough. So he got twice non-selected. He got Selcon, and that's like, 6, 7 odd years later, he is just about to get promoted in the reserves. All that time later, all those years later, when he should have been there on active duty, before 2020, long before 2020. So we have that. Seeing that, I looked at it and I said, there is no chance this is happening. I could have gone into my primary zone board with 10 of 10 MQs, which wasn't going to happen because obviously, like I said, with my command being what it was, that's not a thing. So Do I then sit there and struggle and fight for all of these MQs that are going to mean nothing and going to do nothing? Or do I do the right thing, the moral thing, follow the Army values, and act with selfless service, honor, following my integrity, and actually trying to think ahead for the Army, not for myself, for the Army, and make sure that my, my senior raters kept their MQs for somebody it actually could help. Well, that's exactly what I did, right? I decided that that was the right answer because it wasn't going to help me. Clearly, clearly these chaplains who had said that the first two don't get promoted, they were absolutely right. If Sonia with his 7 MQs can't get promoted, it wasn't happening for me. So I told my senior raters not to give me the MQs because it was going to be more useful for the Army. It was going to, long term, it was going to be better for the Army to make sure that these commanders had a little bit more leeway in figuring out who should get those MQs so that they could help the Army become a better place, right? That really doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is being selfish and looking for those MQs. And that's just not me. That's not my integrity. That's not who I am. So I did attempt to put in a religious accommodation because, as we all know, there are 4 dozen passages in the Pali Canon alone that say we don't compete for status, we don't compete for gain, honor, status, any of that. That's not our thing. We don't do that. Right? That's for uninstructed worldlings, not for followers of the Buddha. So, simply put, what we do is we collaborate, we work together. I was a consummate team player, right? Working with all of my peers, making sure they had all the products that they needed, making sure they had all the coverage that they needed that was within the realm of possibility, making sure that when they had soldiers who had items that they needed or stuff or books or, care that was needed that I could provide that they couldn't, yeah, I was always there. That's not good enough either. Going above and beyond isn't good enough, right? You got to get those MQs because the MQs are the only things that matter, except in some use case where they don't. All right. So I tried to put in this religious accommodation to not compete, and I was told by the senior command chaplain here that he had talked to the senior chaplains at Dachpur, right? The chaplain corps up at HQDA, headquarters Department of the Army, and they had said it wasn't worth putting in because it was going to get denied anyway because it wasn't a GCMCA accommodation. Well, yeah, sure, right. It's not. That's one that would have been decided by the Secretary of the Army because it's an all others waiver. But they told me specifically, don't bother putting it in, right? We're going to discourage you from, you can put it in if you want, but it's just going to fail. Right? It's just going to get denied. So why waste the time? Yeah. So here I am, not competing, living out my integrity, living with integrity, and saying, no, we don't do that. And apparently, I have to do that. I have to sacrifice my values. I have to sacrifice my integrity so that I can play parts in the system and get those MQs, and then all will be good and well. Except it's not going to work anyway, because even if I do get those MQs, I'm still not getting promoted. Right? So if I take Cellcon and I get those MQs, it ain't going to do nothing. I'm still not getting promoted. It's still not going to help. It's not doing a damn thing. So I can live with my integrity and say, that's not something that we do. That's not something that we care about. I'm not going to participate in that broken, corrupt system. or I can sacrifice my integrity a bit, play their game for gain, honor, and status, which goes directly against the teachings of the Buddha, and hope that maybe it'll actually work out. So that's where we are. 1 February 2025, I will be doing something else. And you guys, as Dharma Boots, hopefully will reap the benefits of that, because I'm still going to be a chaplain. Well, no. I'm still going to be a chaplain somewhere doing ministry in some place. Where exactly, I haven't yet figured out. I will still be a minister, and I will still be conducting this service. But maybe we'll add some other stuff onto it as well. I've been thinking about doing some reacts and reviews, so that, just to kind of like broaden it out a little bit. But we'll see. Right? Main point. That's where we're at, Dharma Boots. Sad that it is this way, but I wanted you to see reality just as it is, not as I wish it was. All right. Those who have stuck around for the entirety of us being Dharma Boots, and those who are new here, and those who have not figured out what we're doing, and those who have, by all means, we will see you next time, and thank you for watching.